But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tristan Kinnison with the American Forest Foundation.
All right, thanks, Dave, and thanks, Charles. That was a really good overview, and hopefully gets you guys some good questions to ask me towards the end. So yes, I'm Tristan Kinnison. I am an outreach forester with the American Forest Foundation, and I'll be talking to you guys a little bit about our family forest carbon program. So a little bit of background on the American Forest Foundation. It is a national conservation nonprofit working to empower family forest owners to make meaningful conservation impacts on their forest land. And our big flagship project right now is the Family Forest Carbon Program. So the FFCP was introduced in 2017 as a joint venture between the American Forest Foundation and the Nature Conservancy. And it's really focused on opening up that carbon market to smaller landowners and trying to incentivize them into carbon smart and hopefully conservation smart forest management practices. So the reason that it's focused on family forests, as you can see, this is a graph of forest land ownership in the United States. Family forests make up about 39% of land in the forest land in the entire U.S. I believe it's actually a little bit higher in the eastern U.S. But those family forest landowners, if you talk to them, and if you guys own any property yourselves, you probably realize that a lot of people have, goals that are focused on, improving the forest, making it more sustainable, improving the health, and keeping it safeguarded for future generations. That's a lot of the stuff that we hear from family forest owners. But a lot of people, the incentives aren't really there a lot of times for people to make those management decisions that align with their goals. So to sort of flip the incentives on their head, we decided to turn to the carbon market. So as you can see, almost all of the carbon market projects are focused on larger landowners, making up, I believe, over 90% are over 50,000 or 5,000 acres. And almost, 80%, let's see, forest ownership of less than 1,000 acres accounts for 80% of private acres, but it's 1% of the forest carbon projects. So the Family Forest Carbon Program was really aimed at opening up that smaller market. Historically, a lot of the sort of pioneering projects into the carbon market were focused on these larger areas because of the complexity of modeling, of verifying, of doing, a lot of them are 100-year contracts to really solidify the storage of the carbon on those lands. And so we looked at sort of changing a lot of those things, working on a regional basis rather than property by property, by accounting for land across different ecological regions, and sort of combining them and taking a little of the pressure off of the landowners and shifting it more to onto us and a wider variety of landowners. So the big three things that we try to offer through the program are, first and foremost, funding for the project. We open up the carbon market, so we use the proceeds from selling carbon credits to fund the landowner to set aside basically their land to producing carbon. As a sort of in getting people to that point, we offer them support when they enroll. That support comes in the form of a site visit from a forester like myself or one of our other certified foresters or staff foresters. Once a landowner decides to enroll within the first year, we will get them a forest management plan if they don't already have one, or we'll work on updating their current forest management plans if they already have one to be more in line with our practices. And we want to, at the end of enrollment, set a landowner up to have a sustainable forest management practice in place. So obviously we want to prioritize carbon sequestration, but we also want to get as many additional positive effects that we can through that practice. So we try to improve the timberland on it. We usually, depending on the site, it's not a program where you can't touch your forest at all. We want to encourage timber stand improvement. We want to encourage activities that encourage wildlife habitat, and we require a couple practices that preserve the watershed on your area. Currently, we are open in what we call the Central Appalachian region here, which includes all of Pennsylvania, all of West Virginia, Northwest Maryland, and hopefully in early to mid 2023, we'll be rolling out in Ohio. We also have some project areas in the Northeast. We're rolling out some in the Great Lakes region, I believe in Wisconsin and Minnesota. And we're beginning to roll out some similar programs in the Southeast. So this is still kind of in the works. This is our best guess currently at where the project will be rolled out and enrollment will be open in 2023. Basically, the eastern half of Ohio, it's based on similar regional ecologies, both we have a area in northern Pennsylvania and along the southeast Ohio area. So it's two different sort of ecological zones that we've modeled out, but they'll be coming in. I believe further on, we're hoping to maybe enroll the Northwest under the Great Lakes region, and maybe the Southwest under, we're hoping to open in Kentucky, and hopefully that comes along with that. So to be eligible for the program, a landowner needs to own at least 30 acres of contiguous forest land. Those forests have to be originating from natural regeneration, which means no plantations, no orchards, anything like that. And there can be no existing restrictions on the timber harvest activity. So the first, and I guess currently the only practice that we offer is the growing mature forests practice, which is focused on existing timberland and basically removing it off of the timber market on a larger scale for 20 years. It's focused on allowing those forests to increase in size. We want to limit harvests. We want to thin within sustainable guidelines. And at the end of the project, the goal is to have a better timberland for the forest owner. A little more detail on it. The project is based on operable timberland. So the lower limit of an eligible forest land is 2,000 board feet per acre. So we will, upon once a landowner has expressed interest, that's one of the things that will come out and check with the site visit. We'll do a couple measurements and make sure that they fall within that that restriction. The contract is 20 years, and that will move along even with along with the property deed. So if it's sold or if it's inherited or anything like that, the program goes with who currently owns the land. A forest management plan is required. If you have one beforehand, that makes it a little easier. But if you don't have one, we offer a free in-house forest management plan made up more suited to the specifics of the program. But if you are interested in, a very in-depth forest management plan, dealing with, very specific things on your property, we also offer some money towards getting a forest management plan put in place by, a forester of your choosing. If you want to be in compliance with NRCS or any other more specific programs. The stipulations in the program really are that you can remove no more than 25% of the basal area on your enrolled property. There's no high grading, which is a reduction in the mean stand timber diameter of more than 10%, and no harvesting within 50 feet of the water sources. And like Charles said, there is, we do waive salvage operations, should some big natural disaster occur and you lose the timber on your property. A second practice that we're hoping to roll out, hopefully within the next year, is called enhancing future forests. It's focused on regenerating new forest stands out of, old pasture fields, breaks in the forest, invaded areas that are heavily suppressed by invasives. And so that will basically offer payment to the landowner to enact basically control operations, to remove invasives, I believe plant in trees, different things like that to establish an overstory. And that does not operate in the same carbon market procedure as the growing mature forests. This is actually funded through a grant. So we're still trying to work out all the details, but hopefully available in the end of 2023. So once you're interested in the project and you want to agree, there are a couple more things that should be known. The payments, your land will be assessed according to board footage, a couple different on-site details, and will be assessed. You'll be given a quote when you sign up or when you're offered a contract. And so the payments can either will be taken as scheduled, I believe once a year, throughout the duration of the project. And you can either take a 20% lump sum upfront and then the rest on your payment schedule, or take the payments as they come through the years. The landowner is required to complete some reporting. It's nothing major. They're basically, general forest stand data. It's nothing major. I believe it's really just assuring that there hasn't been a harvest or anything in the last year. The FFCP will own the rights to the carbon in the project area, and we reserve the right to set up a monitoring station, not a monitoring station, but a monitoring plot on your property. It's usually, I believe, 1 out of every 10 enrolled properties will receive a monitoring setup, which will be a permanent plot, which is assessed yearly. So a little bit more about the technical support that we offer. In the site visit, we'll go over your goals. We'll talk a little bit about what's currently going on in your forest. We'll give you a couple of recommendations, and we'll delineate the project area, break it up into stands, things like that. We will use those goals to help tailor you a forest management plan. All of those will include a bunch of forest health improvements, recommendations, a timeline, things like that. And then we also will help you get in touch with a lot of our extended educational partners. We also run the American Tree Farm System, which is basically a voluntary best guidance club. We partner with the Audubon. Obviously, we partner with the Nature Conservancy to get you some of the best practice information. So if you're interested in enrolling, the process is fairly simple. You'll just go to familyforestcarbon.org. We have a tool called WoodCamp, which basically pulls tax parcel data from the state. You can go in, type in, your address. You can find your parcel. You can select it. That'll come through to us. A representative will reach out. You will get connected with a forester, and we'll come do a site visit. Once your site is assessed, we'll send you a contract, and you'll receive your payment. And then we'll work with you throughout the 20-year duration. And then if anybody in here is a consulting forester, we have a little plug. We are also contracting consulting foresters to help us make those forest management plans and do some of those site visits. Visits range from $500 to $2,100 depending on acreage. And then forest management plan, we have a template that we'll send out, and we'll have you go out and do a site visit and work with the landowner, and those range from about $600 to $1,300. And you can check that out also through our familyforestcarbon.org. And that is the end of the show.